In a world that glorifies self-aggrandizement and ego-driven pursuits, the idea of staying poor in ego may seem counterintuitive. Yet, when it comes to the realm of sexual energy, the most potent life force a human can harness, humility, groundedness, and ego poverty are key to true mastery. The man who chooses to stay poor in ego becomes rich in essence, power, and clarity. His energy is not squandered on performance, validation, or conquest, but rather conserved, transmuted, and directed toward higher purpose. This content explores a profound intersection of ego and sexual energy. It examines why ego is the most dangerous thief of sexual power, how humility fuels spiritual and physical transmutation, and why staying poor in ego is not weakness, but supreme strength. It is a journey inward, where one learns that the riches of a man are not measured in applause or attention, but in the depth of his self-mastery. From a young age, men are taught that ego is synonymous with power. The more women you sleep with, the more masculine you are. The louder your presence, the more dominant you appear. Society equates sexual conquest with significance. But what is really happening under the surface of this conditioning? When ego takes the driver's seat of a man's sexual identity, he becomes addicted to external validation. His sense of worth is not derived from within, but from how many people desire him. This breeds insecurity masked as confidence. It's a performance, not power. Ego creates a false hierarchy. Men who retain, who discipline, who master their sexual urges are seen as less masculine than men who constantly release. But the truth is the opposite. Those who stay poor in ego, who resist the urge to prove themselves sexually, reclaim their power. They don't need to announce it. Their presence speaks louder than performance. Sexual energy is like water in a sacred vessel. The ego, bloated with pride and the need to prove, is full of holes. It cannot contain energy. It constantly leaks. Every time a man seeks validation through sex, porn, masturbation, or flirting, he empties the cup. The ego cannot hold seed. It is too hungry for attention. The man who retains his energy must first defeat his ego. This is why most men cannot stay on semen retention. They are still addicted to being seen. They are still ruled by lust, which is ego in its most primal form. Lust is a projection of the ego's desire to consume and conquer. To truly harness sexual energy, a man must humble himself. He must choose to become a servant of purpose, not a slave to ego. Only then does the vessel seal. Only then can energy build to powerful levels. When a man stays poor in ego, his energy grows in silence. He is not concerned with being the loudest in the room, or the most desired, or the most masculine by shallow standards. He is concerned with being true to himself, to his mission, and to the higher order of life. Humility is not self-belittlement. It is not weakness. It is strength under control. The man who walks in humility radiates power without having to declare it. He does not need to dominate anyone. He dominates himself. This self-domination is what transforms sexual energy into creative energy, into leadership, into vision. When the ego is dissolved, energy rises. This is how spiritual ascension occurs, not through arrogance, but through surrender. To stay poor in ego is to stay rich in presence. It is to become magnetic, not because you try to attract, but because you become a furnace of raw, pure energy. You don't chase. You emanate. The woman does not complete you. A major trap of the ego is the belief that you need a woman to complete you. This is the romanticized version of lust. Ego tells you, once I sleep with her, I'll feel powerful. Once I get her attention, I'll feel significant. But this is a poverty mindset disguised as ambition. You are seeking outside what you have not cultivated within. A woman should complement your energy, not complete it. When your sexual energy is rooted in ego, your relationships become transactional. You give to get. You love to be loved. But when you stay poor in ego, love becomes overflow. Sex becomes sacred. Connection becomes pure. You no longer need a woman to validate your masculinity. You walk into relationships full, not empty. You enter from a place of abundance, not desperation. The war within, ego versus discipline. Semen retention, celibacy, or even conscious sexual practice all require a war against ego. The ego will scream when you deny it pleasure. It will rebel when you say no. to dopamine. It will mock you when you choose solitude over seduction. This is why most men fold. Not because they are weak, but because they have not yet starved the ego long enough to silence it. To stay poor in ego is to make discipline your king. It is to choose delayed gratification over instant pleasure. It is to understand that every urge is a test, every temptation a training ground. Each time you say no to lust, you say yes to mastery. Each time you reject validation, you accept sovereignty. Each time you retreat from ego, you advance toward power. How ego robs your purpose. The ego will tell you to chase women. Purpose tells you to chase legacy. The ego wants now. Purpose demands forever. Sexual energy is the raw material of your purpose. It is what fuels your drive, your creativity, your courage. But if you are full of ego, this energy will never reach its higher expression. It will stay trapped in your lower nature, constantly being burned in lust, arguments, pride, and performance. To unlock your higher mission, you must drain the ego. You must purify the vessel. Only then can sexual energy rise from the base to the crown, turning carnal desire into divine vision. This is why many great men go through a season of isolation. Not to be alone, but to become whole. Not to hide from the world, but to rise above its illusions. Stay poor in ego, but rich in standards. Staying poor in ego doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or mediocrity. It means that your self-worth isn't tied to status, attention, or lust, but you still walk with high standards. You still guard your energy like a king guards his kingdom. You don't allow anyone access to your essence. You don't waste energy on people who don't understand your mission. You choose peace over proving and progress over popularity. When your ego is poor, your discernment becomes sharp. You no longer see with the eyes of the world. You see with the eyes of the soul. You feel energy. You sense truth. You move with wisdom. You realize that your seed is sacred. Your time is sacred. Your mission is sacred. And anything that pulls you from that is a thief, no matter how pretty it looks. Power is quiet. The loudest man in the room is usually the weakest. True power is quiet. It is felt, not flaunted. A man poor in ego doesn't need to brag about his semen retention streak. He doesn't need to announce that he's celibate or boast about not watching porn. He lives it. He is it. And his energy does the speaking. His posture is calm. His gaze is steady. His voice is rooted. You can feel his power because it is not leaking. It is not trying to prove. It is simply there. This quiet power comes from years of ego death, from inner battles fought in silence, from urges conquered in the night, from tears shed without witnesses. This power cannot be faked. It cannot be bought. It is earned in the fire of self-mastery. The sexual alchemist stays poor in ego. Before we continue, subscribe to this YouTube channel and like the video. The man who transmutes his sexual energy into vision, wealth, creativity, and leadership is not interested in the illusions of ego. He is an alchemist. He understands that every urge is energy that can be used to build empires. He does not run from temptation. He faces it. He does not suppress his desires. He redirects them. He does not pretend to be above sexual energy. He masters it. The alchemist knows that staying poor in ego is what keeps the energy flowing upward. It is what allows the sexual current to rise through the chakras, from lust to love, from desire to divinity, from craving to creation. He becomes a walking vortex of masculine presence. He penetrates the world not with ego, but with truth, not with noise, but with purpose. Ego must die for energy to live. Staying poor in ego is a choice, a decision, a sacred vow. It is choosing discipline over dopamine, mission over validation, humility over performance. It is a decision to retreat from the world's applause to build a foundation that cannot be shaken, to be misunderstood now so that you can be immortalized later, to suffer in silence today so that you can lead in strength tomorrow. The ego wants to be seen, but the soul wants to serve. And sexual energy, when purified from ego, becomes the most powerful tool of service a man can offer the world. Stay poor in ego, stay rich in energy, and build a life that makes noise without ever raising your voice.